Nicole is my name. I reside in a tiny town approximately 50 minutes away by car from Boston, and I am 32 years old. My workplace is just over a block from my house, so I walk there every morning after making myself a cup of espresso and listening to the weather report. It's difficult to describe my work as a co-founder of a biotech company in the healthcare industry, particularly to those who believe that office work consists only of data input. Perhaps my family never truly bothered to understand what I do. I've always been the strange younger sister to them, the one who wore plain clothes, seldom applied makeup, and was always hooked to her laptop or in a conference. They are most proud of my elder sister, Claire. They have always seen her as the ideal daughter, yet she is 3 years older than I am. Lovely, elegant, kind, and endearing. I was just a minor background to Claire's stardom, even in family portraits. Family members would gather around her on Christmas or Thanksgiving to give her accolades. "You look amazing in that outfit, Claire." Or "Your new lover is a doctor, Claire." Amazing. And me? The line was usually, "Nicole, yeah, she's doing something in biotech, I think." If anybody even recalled that I was there. As if I were a footnote at the bottom of the page, they spoke. I used to believe that my parents would eventually see me and be as proud of me as they were of Claire if I put in enough effort, remained behind the scenes, and took on the workload. However, no. She always had all the praise, all the expectations, and all the attention. And me? I was always aloof, abrasive, and difficult to speak to. They were unaware that I had managed a problem for a public health project valued at about $2 million and 0 pennies while staying at the workplace till midnight. They never inquired about the experience of starting a business from the ground up with 3 pals from college. I just grin slightly and respond, "We haven't spoken in a while." When people inquire about my family, it isn't anything. I have nothing else to say, not because I'm concealing anything. It's been more than 2 years since we last spoke. No birthday greetings, no calls, no messages. Like a severed connection, there was just quiet, and no one cared to reconnect. I once thought that family was a place you could always go back to. That idea, however, was dispelled one day on my mother's birthday. It was the end of March. I had just finished a profitable capital round with a New York-based investment company. As usual, I was going to take 3 days off and return early to assist my parents in getting ready for Mom's birthday. Not very fancy. As usual, I merely wanted to provide a hand. My dad answered the phone when I phoned to inform them. "I intend to return ahead of schedule." I added, "If there's anything you need me to prepare or pick up, let me know." His voice is still in my memory. I'm not upset, just odd. After a little silence, he cleared his throat. "Please don't come home this year, Nicole." For a while, I hesitated, wondering whether he was concerned that I was too preoccupied with my job. "Don't worry, Dad. My schedule is already free. I'd really want to go." He spoke firmly this time. "Claire is taking her new boyfriend with her, Cole. He works as a CFO, clearly accomplished and articulate. Your occupation? Well, it's difficult to describe. It would be embarrassing and encourage comparisons if you showed up. It's preferable that you remain." I became numb. A chilly sting ran down my spine as my chest constricted. With clenched teeth, I grasped the phone and said, "Are you saying I make the family look bad? That I am an embarrassment and should not return home?" He didn't retract it. He really stepped up his efforts. "If you're determined to attend, then do not refer to me as your father." He hung up after that. Without hesitation, no second thoughts. It became disturbingly silent in my flat. I was holding a chilly espresso cup. I looked into the void as if a single statement had caused the whole globe to burst open. I refrained from crying. I only sat there, and I came to a realization for the first time in my life. The family I had worked so hard to maintain no longer included me. With early spring sunshine streaming through the white curtains, I sat in my comfortable window-side recliner, unable to thaw the cold inside of me. My father's remarks reverberated, unequivocal and decisive. "If you're determined to attend, then do not refer to me as your father." I turned to face my hands. My fingers were shaking, not out of rage but something more profound. The tipping point. Even though I would never experience Claire's level of affection, I had always believed that I was still their daughter. As it happens, no, I wasn't. I got up and made my way to my desk. I opened my laptop and accessed my banking app without thinking twice. I had been giving my parents money each month for more than 2 years, paying for their cable, internet, water, and electricity bills. Not including the extra I'd give when Mom claimed Dad's vehicle needed maintenance or the refrigerator broke. It was over $600.00 a month. They never inquired about my financial situation. They simply said, "Claire is having difficulties since changing jobs. It would be fantastic if you could assist." I also contributed, silently, like it was my responsibility, as if accountability were an unseen agreement I had made when I first began making money. I browsed through the transaction history. The sum appeared, $15,720.00. My heart fell, not because I felt bad about it, but because I was never enough, even after everything. I hung over every bill, internet, water, and electricity. Click, then another. A notification appeared. The auto payment has successfully canceled. Not a single alarm.
No questions.
Nothing but quiet, as if I had always been a part of my family. I had trouble sleeping that night, not because I was upset, but because I couldn't stop thinking about how it all happened. Regarding my father's remarks, about the fact that my whole family was prepared to ignore me in order to win over Claire's new boyfriend, a guy I had never ever met. This was the first time I had ever been publicly rejected, even though I had always been compared, as if my presence were a bother. Mom's birthday arrived in a flash. I did not make a call. No card was sent by me. I didn't make any internet posts. I couldn't pretend any longer, not out of spite. My phone buzzed at precisely 5 o'clock in the evening when I was enjoying peppermint tea on my balcony. It was my mother. After a few moments of staring at the screen, I turned it off. Immediately after, a message arrived. "Why is there no electricity? Nicole, could you please check?" I put down my cup and read Dad's next note. "No water. No internet. Give the providers a call. Your mother is going crazy." I sat silently, staring at the line of trees at the rear.
Norai. No discomfort.
Just a strange silence. They didn't inquire about your well-being. No mention of the phone call. All they asked me to do was what I always did. Tidy up the mess. Then Claire sent an SMS. "Mom is on the verge of tears. Guests are arriving, and the internet is down. What's happening?" I grabbed my phone and started typing. It was 3 weeks ago. Dad advised me not to refer to him as my father if I persisted on returning home. I'm only following his instructions. Perhaps locate someone you don't feel embarrassed to introduce if this is inconvenient. It wasn't sent by me. I removed it, not because I felt bad about it, but because I knew that they would only hear what I had to say. I put the phone down, closed my eyes, and reclined in my chair. It was quiet and silent in my little flat.
No plans.
No critical glances. No requirements. Claire left a voicemail the next day. "Ever since yesterday night, Mom has been weeping. Are you aware of the significance of yesterday? Everything fell apart when my boyfriend first met the family. You're really self-centered." After hearing the whole message, I switched off my phone. I hadn't been self-centered enough for years. It was time now. I checked the weekend operations report on my work email. One particular subject line caught our attention. "Employees from New Jersey moved to Boston. Awaiting clearance." I glanced over the names in the attached list and then I halted. Prescott, Liam. My heart skipped a beat when I heard that name. My mother had brought it up just 3 days before, so I recalled it. Liam, Claire's boyfriend, is employed by a large company. I narrowed my eyes at the file. Present location. Head of finance, branch in New Jersey. Approver is moving to the Boston headquarters. Warren, Nicole. Co-founder. I gave a little chuckle. Only a reaction. I had underestimated the size of the planet. And I was aware. The coming was just getting started. My chest felt empty as I sat still in front of my laptop, my hand resting on the mouse, as if someone had stolen a memory I had held onto for too long. Almost $16,000. Not a single penny. Month after month, without any reminders or delays, I paid every bit of it. Nevertheless, they had never shown gratitude. Not once. The identical lines kept appearing as I navigated back through the payment list. My power costs $192.48. My water cost $136.72. My cable and internet costs $248.50. Like I was their unpaid family accountant, month after month. Not visible. Not acknowledged. Ignored. I thought back to the last time I spoke to my mother on the phone, which was approximately midnight a year ago, when she said, "Nicole, the plumbing in the bathroom burst. Could you make a phone call? Claire and her boyfriend are on vacation. The only one left is you. The only one left is you." Although it seemed innocuous, it was the painful reality. Not like a daughter, I was adored. When the people they really cared about failed to show up, I was just the answer. I finally got it when I was advised not to go home since it didn't seem good that I was there. Nothing I accomplished throughout the years was ever met with affection. No one was around when I needed anything, and I was only remembered when there was a fee to pay or an issue to resolve. My mother's message appeared on my phone once again. "Nicole, I understand that things got a bit heated yesterday, but it would be very appreciated if you could handle the internet bill. Claire is attempting to maintain composure with the visitors." Like a stranger, I gazed at the message. Don't apologize. Nothing about my father's brutal rejection. As usual, just another request. Without responding, I put the phone down. I went outside and sat in the wooden chair in the waning April sunlight on the porch. Even though Boston wasn't yet warm, the cool air somehow let me think more clearly. Liam, Claire's new boyfriend and now my new employee, crossed my mind. The irony. He was going to report directly to me, so my family didn't let me attend Mom's birthday. This would be the best joke in a comedy about life. After I got back to my work, I opened the email. The headline caught my attention. Liam Prescott is confirmed as a new recruit. Moved to the Boston office. I selected the profile. Everything was in line. Degrees, age, and experience. A well-written CV. Claire would opt for that sort. Well-educated, well-established, and endearing in writing. I glanced at the picture that was supplied. A familiar feeling. Then I recalled. Approximately 6 months before, we had met briefly at a convention. We didn't connect, but he shook my hand and referred to me as co-founder Warren. In other words, I never gave Claire enough thought to recognize the guy standing next to her. I now had an option. Accept or reject the transfer. However, I understood I didn't have to take any action. The ideal script had already been written by life. All I had to do was watch to see what would happen when Claire discovered that her lover had told the sister, embarrassing the whole family. Liam showed up at the workplace the next day. His face a little tight, he strode into my holding a folder. His eyes stopped on me, then expanded in surprise as I glanced up. "Nicole?" Gently, he inquired. I gave a little collected grin. "Greetings from Pacific Genomics. This quarter, I will be going over the full financial plan. I'm excited to collaborate with you." Liam stopped. His face became pallid after flushing. My family was unaware that I was a co-founder of this business. I had never been asked what I really did. They just thought I was a desk worker of some kind. I just guided the contract toward him without saying anything more. Liam accepted it and slipped out of the room. I reclined in my seat. I wasn't content. I wasn't depressed. I just got the impression that things had finally changed. I also didn't have to speak this time. The truth was self-evident. The sky was abnormally dreary on the morning of my mother's birthday in Boston. Everything seemed hazy due to the heavy fog that pervaded the atmosphere, as if the whole universe was waiting for something to fall apart. I sat at the window, made myself a strong black coffee, and gazed out at the deserted yard. I had no intention of doing anything. No birthday posts, no calls, no messages. All I wanted was for everything to happen precisely as it was, without my involvement. My phone chimed at 9 in the morning. Mom's first message. "I believe the power is out. Nicole, my love. Could you please check? Today is a significant day. I put the phone on the table face down. The same tone. Gentle and sweet, as if nothing had ever occurred. As if my father hadn't warned me that I should not have shown there because I humiliated the family. Another message 15 minutes later. From Dad this time. No power yet. And the water isn't running. Is there a problem with the payments? Give the supplier a call right away. Brief. Chilly. Don't worry. There was no mention of my exclusion from the celebration. Only an order. As if I were still in charge of their logistics. I let out a sigh. I hadn't missed a single payment in 2 years. Cable, internet, water, and electricity. On the night my father hung up and cut everything off, I canceled them all one by one. So it was difficult to introduce myself. The home was now in disarray on the day Claire was presenting her boyfriend to the family. No power. No water. No internet. Just as anticipated. The texts began to pour in around 11 a.m. Mom. Nicole. Please. I beseech you. Visitors are coming. Could you just assist me once? Dad. No power. We're not able to cook. You're where? Now take care of this. Claire. Nicole. Really? This is a unique day. Mom is on the verge of tears. The internet is not available. I am unable to call anybody. This is getting to me. Are you able to quit being self-centered? I reclined. My coffee was chilly. I didn't feel validated by the messages. I wasn't satisfied with them. I felt nothing but emptiness. A silent, unyielding void. The phone then buzzed once more. Aunt Sharon called via video. Despite my infrequent responses, I was the only family member who continued to send Christmas greetings. After hesitating, I responded. With only a phone flashlight for illumination, her former kitchen appeared. Her eyes were a little red and she seemed fatigued. Nicole, she muttered. Your mother is frantic. It is dark in the home. Everyone is rushing around. Furthermore, nobody is sure what to do. I simply stared at her without saying anything. Without accusation or defense. She said after pausing. What took place? Your mother's birthday has never been missed by you. I understand your motivations, but speak out. I inhaled deeply while maintaining a steady tone of speech. According to my dad, I damaged the family's reputation. Advised me to stop referring to him as my father if I persisted in attending. What should I do next, in your opinion? Aunt Sharon stopped. Her expression instantly altered. I heard some noise in the background. I heard my mom mention aloud that she's probably just pouting. Nobody would be so callous as to do this. Then a more piercing voice. Liam is nearly here, Claire. The electricity company has already been called. The fact that she did this to us today is unbelievable. I smiled a little glum grin. Aunt Sharon listened to everything. She didn't stand up for anybody. Remained silent. Then suddenly the screen changed. A fresh face came into view. Liam. The same tidy outfit. The same professional demeanor as in his resume. Nicole? He blurted out, almost unconsciously, as he glanced at the screen. Everyone became quiet. You are Pacific Genomics' Nicole Warren, right? With calm gaze, I nodded. A lengthy silence. Then Liam looked around the room. My immediate superior is her. And there was surprised quiet from the person who gave the go-ahead for my transfer to Boston. Claire's mouth fell open. My folks froze. Nobody spoke. I hope your introduction today goes well, I said gently. I then hung up the phone. Without saying another word, I put my phone down after the call. Dim afternoon light streamed faintly through the heavy dark clouds beyond the window. I could hardly believe how calm everything was around me. No calls, no voice messages, no follow-up texts. Only me and an odd, weightless sensation of comfort after the revelation of a truth. Not by me, but by them. I didn't have to reveal anything. I just kept quiet and allowed everything to happen precisely the way it was supposed to. Liam had amply verified it. They thought I was merely a desk worker for Pacific Genomics, the firm I co-founded, and was his superior. My family's kitchen turned into a stage at that instant, and nobody was able to stop the masks from falling one by one. My sister Claire, who had suggested to her mother that Nicole should choose a career that would be simpler to introduce, was now standing still next to an unlit birthday cake. In the end, it was her boyfriend who publicly referred to me as boss, despite her best efforts to dazzle him with meaningless praise and a picture-perfect family. It seemed as if I were viewing a rerun of the incident. My mom almost dropped the cake tray because she was so agitated. Red-faced, my father was holding on to the table's edge, and the family members, those who had come simply for food and condemnation, sat in horrified silence, their eyes darting about, trying to take in what had just transpired. Aunt Sharon continued to make the call, her eyes no longer inquisitive but more respectful. She gave me a little nod and hung up the phone without saying anything further. Claire sent me the first message that night, long, disorganized, and a mixture of despair and rage. Didn't you know all along? You allowed that to occur amid the celebration? Mom has been sobbing all night, and Liam is unsure of how to respond. Nicole, don't you think that was cruel? I didn't immediately read the mail after seeing it appear on my screen. I sat on the sofa and brewed a cup of ginger tea, allowing the steam to relax my constricted throat. I didn't feel happy, but I also didn't feel bad. 10 minutes or so later, I clicked respond. No need for more than a few lines. I was harsh, you say? I was just at home. The video call was not initiated by me. I didn't refer to myself as his supervisor. I took no action. And if the whole celebration may be ruined by just one truth, perhaps there was never a strong foundation for the party in the first place. I sent it. I wasn't anticipating a response. My phone buzzed once again 30 minutes later. It was my mother this time. It was a brief message. I never thought you would choose to retaliate against the family in this manner. I sat back in my chair and closed my eyes. Return. Did they believe this to be that? I recently recalled being excluded from a family gathering and having my daughter role disregarded since my work wasn't sufficiently noteworthy. I recalled spending 2 years silently paying hundreds of invoices without receiving a single check-in. I recalled how hard I had tried to be liked and accepted, and now I had given up. Liam sent me an email at about 10 o'clock at night. I apologize for not knowing sooner. Nicole, for your efforts and for remaining quiet today, you have my utmost respect. It's not because of you that I've ever felt so embarrassed. After reading that, I slowly responded. You don't have to say sorry, Liam. Everyone is in charge of their own perceptions of other people. I hope you now understand, but don't worry. I never bring personal issues to work. Silence might be the strongest thing at times. I put the phone face down on the table, hit send, and shut off my screen. I would still report to work tomorrow as normal. Reports would need to be reviewed, meetings would need to be planned, and the world outside would continue to change. There was just one difference now. Today, they, who had before disregarded me, were suddenly aware of my identity. Additionally, I had silenced them without a single yell or allegation. As I entered my workplace the next morning, sunlight streaming through the glass panels gave the space a cozy, golden hue. The cosmos seemed to have granted me a few minutes of peace and quiet before the bustle of the day resumed. As usual, I turned on my computer, sat at my desk, and checked my email. One unread mail was in the priority inbox.
Zenda.
Prescott. Liam. I made the click. Subject.
I'm sorry.
Nicole, goodbye. I'm not sure where to begin, but I had trouble falling asleep last night. I've been contemplating, in front of so many people, what transpired most likely shouldn't have occurred. However, I also have an odd feeling of lucidity, particularly about you. The fact that you are Claire's sister does not embarrass me. I regret not seeing her for who she really is sooner. If there is no fundamental respect in a relationship, I can't remain. I am quitting my relationship with Claire as of today. I appreciate your silence yesterday, and I like your leadership style, quiet yet fair and powerful. Liam. After reading it again, I reclined in my chair. Claire's breakup didn't sit well with me. Something suddenly struck me. Correct. It seemed as if someone outside had finally seen what I had been living with for years. I was informed that I was either too cool or too sensitive to keep silent about such things. I didn't respond.
No necessity existed.
But my phone lighted up about 2 hours later as I was looking over the finance team's financial overview. Claire sent a message. Nicole, I understand that you're busy, but will you kindly speak with Liam on my behalf? He doesn't comprehend anything. Calm and unfazed, I read the message. I took a while to respond. Another communication arrived less than 5 minutes later. His employer is you. You are influential. If you speak out, he will change his mind. I got up and went to the window to look down at the crowded street. Over the years, I had hoped that Claire would send me a single message to check in while I was in pain. One piece of advice when I didn't succeed. However, nothing was present. And she turned to me now that her relationship had broken down. To correct it, not to apologize. I went back to typing at my desk. I said nothing to induce Liam to leave. You are the reason he left. And he really saw it, maybe for the first time. Claire took a while to respond. An hour or so later, however, a fresh communication came in. You're correct. I don't want to lose him, however. Please, I'll change this time. Only this time. I was beyond the point of explanation, so I didn't answer, not because I was upset. The early spring wind was still cold as I left the workplace that evening, but the roofs were glowing a rich orange as the sun sank. I took my time, didn't rush, and didn't stress as I made my way to the parking lot. I felt light, maybe for the first time in years. I hadn't wanted retribution. I had just been true to myself and let the rest work itself out. Claire was responsible for this conclusion, and Liam, who had previously been enchanted by the appearance of a flawless family, had at last recognized the foundation that I had spent the most of my life on. I played an old playlist that night, the type of music that, back in my early startup days, used to make me feel invisible. However, the songs seemed like a silent affirmation tonight. I had emerged from the darkness, by being steadfast, not by shouting. And neither Claire nor any of my family members had anticipated it. I was no longer in need of approval. All I had to do was be myself and enjoy the life I deserved. A week or so after things had settled down, the doorbell rang on one of the few Sunday afternoons when I chose not to check my laptop. I almost ignored it since I wasn't expecting anybody. However, I had to peek through the peephole for some reason. There at the gate were my parents. To give my mind time to process what I was seeing, I remained still for a few seconds. With a weary expression, my mother grasped a tiny bag. Although his eyes were not as steely as they had been during our last contact, my dad's arms were crossed. I pulled the door open, remained silent. My mother was the first to say, "Hello, honey," in a scratchy voice as if she had just landed after a long journey. "Can we enter and have a brief conversation?" Silently, I moved to make room for them. There were no warm welcomes or embraces, just a thick quiet that echoed from the living room to the hallway. I put 2 glasses down, poured some water, and took a seat across from them. Simple, clean, and utterly unaffected by my parents' presence. My mom looked about the flat. My father was the first to speak. "Regarding your mother's birthday?" I said some inappropriate things. I said nothing. After glancing at me, he went on, but more slowly. "We may have been a little harsh with you. We wanted to get together and chat like a family since Claire has been a complete disaster since the separation and your mom has been sobbing all the time." I just nodded a little and remained silent. I was curious to find out where they were taking this. The lengthy build-up before they reached their main goal was something I was used to. My mother immediately stepped in, as I had anticipated. "In fact, we have a suggestion." After a moment of hesitation, she set the bag on the table and took out a printed document. "We have considered it. Your employment is excellent, and you're steady now. We would appreciate it if you could give us a monthly donation. $2,000.00, roughly. Just enough to cover some retirement savings, insurance, and living expenses." I glanced up at her. $2,000 a month? As if worried that I might misinterpret, my dad stepped right in. "For someone in your position, it's not much. Nicole, we're family." I straightened my posture and spoke in a calm voice. "Claire, what about her?" My mother paused. "She's struggling after the split. She's in a bad mood. It's not going well at work. She cannot be coerced by us." I laughed quietly because it was all so familiar, not because I felt resentful. I was always able to take pressure, and Claire was always the one who couldn't. I gave them a straight glance. I'll pay the other half if Claire agrees to pay her share, which is $1,000, 0 cents a month. Otherwise, I'll want a formal agreement that explicitly specifies that all assets, including the home, will be mine upon your deaths. The room was silent. My father's face became scarlet, and he wrinkled his brow. Are you really putting your own parents through this? My mother blinked and sighed. Not under any circumstances. Fundamentals. Over the course of 2 years, I have already spent about $16,000 and 0 cents on this family, and no one has ever acknowledged it. Things must be made plain if you want me to go on. With her voice beginning to falter, my mother turned to face my father. Perhaps we ought to discuss it? However, he leaped out of his chair and slammed his fist down on the hardwood table, causing the glasses to clatter. After more than 2 decades of raising her, she now expects a contract whenever we ask for a little assistance. Incredibly so. I remained sat, staring at him. I owe you nothing, Dad. We can figure it out if you believe that raising me was an investment that requires a return. Line by line. However, I will no longer pay for it with quiet. He seemed to be about to protest but halted. His lips clenched. My mom got up and gave his arm a little pull. Come on. I got up and escorted them to the door. No hugs. No farewells. The only thing left was the gentle wind coming in from the balcony as the door closed behind them. I knew in that silence. It was the end of another chapter. And the last sentence was written by myself this time. My parents didn't get in touch with me again after that day. No texts, no calls. No charges. Not even an apology for the fury that had swept through my house. As if their challenging kid was to blame for all of their life setbacks. I wasn't shocked, however. I was accustomed to stillness like that. The sort that came from individuals who just don't know how to talk when they're no longer in power, rather than from feelings of guilt or regret. I continued to live my life. Coffee-fueled quiet mornings, late-night strategy discussions, and signing agreements with business partners who previously questioned whether a young woman could manage a biotech firm. And I no longer felt sorry about it. Because I could manage it, I stopped believing that I was bad for declining to be the default caregiver and backup wallet. In the end, you must realize that love cannot be quantified in monthly installments or compelled by a feeling of obligation. It's not family if the fondness lasts just as long as the bills are paid. It's a deal. I began severing the unseen threads that bound me to the positions they had given me. I stopped using a picture of my family as my phone's background. Claire's birthday slipped my mind. I sent a little gift without marking the holidays. I stopped hovering over texts filled with remorse. Instead of waiting for them to begin with an apology, I've learned to punctuate myself. Liam, who is now our company's head of finance, showed up one day at a team meeting with an investment report. He was professional, focused, and maintained a polite distance at all times. Never once did we discuss Claire, and I was grateful for it. When completely understood, there are certain things that are better left unsaid. It was raining as I left the workplace that afternoon. I chose a seat near the window when I went by a cafe I knew well. There was a carved wooden sign on the wall. Home isn't necessarily a physical location. It may be a decision at times. As I sipped my steaming coffee, I thought back on my journey. I used to think that I would be accepted someday if I simply remained silent, kind, and responsible enough. In actuality, however, if you allow others to become used to treating you disrespectfully, they will begin to interpret your quiet as consent and your sacrifices as duties. I decided to get up, to protect myself, not to offend my family. I decided to establish limits. I finally understood, not because I'm self-centered. Self-worth cannot be determined by the sympathy or urgent demands of others. And I would say, I regret that it took me so long to realize I deserved more than that. If someone were to ask me, Nicole, whether I regret not assisting my parents when they needed it, because you are seen as a whole person in a true family, not a wallet, not a substitute. It's not a backup plan for those who consistently put you last. I am aware that some individuals may find my narrative difficult to believe. Refusing to do family responsibilities is often seen as disrespectful in modern culture. Try putting yourself in my position, however. Because she wasn't polished enough to introduce herself, the daughter was excluded. Are you okay? The one who silently paid tens of thousands and never heard back? I didn't go with the conventional definition of family. I made my own decision. How about you? Was I too chilly, in your opinion? Or did I discover self-love at the appropriate moment? Leave a comment with your ideas. Because sometimes, when someone else is torn between duty and freedom, your tale may be the illumination they need. And trust me, you're not alone if you've ever felt alone in your own family. Nicole's experience serves as a potent reminder that no one should have to give up their own self for a connection that is disrespectful but only goes by the name of family. When you decide to love yourself, learn to establish limits, and stop allowing others to take advantage of your generosity. That isn't being self-centered. Growth is that. Nicole had no desire for vengeance. To emphasize her value, she opted for respectful quiet. And often the first step toward true peace is the most forceful action. How do you feel about Nicole's decision? Did she act too harshly? Or, after years of suffering, was she just defending herself? Please leave your comments below, and remember to subscribe to the channel for more in-depth and thought-provoking family-related tales.